Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're talking about how the Los Angeles Clippers are going to be one hell of a scary team next season. I'm looking at this Los Angeles Clippers roster right now, and honestly, the first thing I will say, I'm not saying they won't be good with this squad right now, but man, oh man, can you imagine this roster in the 2017-18 season? Even John Collins. John Collins wasn't that bad in the 2017-18 season. He was a pretty solid player. But you imagine Bradley Beal, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Brook Lopez on the same team in the 2017-18 season. Keep in mind, you got a guy like Nicholas Batum off the bench on this team. So, he's a little bit more in his prime in the 2017-18 season. But this is still a great squad, honestly. If they stay healthy in the playoffs, which that was the case in this year's playoffs, in the 7-game series, there was no injury problems. Kawhi, I think that's the great part of this Clipper season. Is Kawhi 100% throughout the regular season? No. But when it mattered, Kawhi was healthy 100% in the playoffs. That's not something you've seen in the last couple of years in the postseason. You've not seen Kawhi fully healthy in the postseason the last couple of years. And you saw Kawhi play every single game in that series against the Denver Nuggets. And a lot of those games, he played some good damn basketball. So, but everybody else stayed healthy. And so I look at what they've lost, right? What has come out of their organization and what has come in? Now, I think you can definitely look at Norman Powell. Norman Powell was a great asset to this Clippers team. And he played some great basketball early in the season during Kawhi Leonard, during the time Kawhi Leonard was out. He even played some good basketball when Kawhi was out there. And he played great basketball in the previous years before that. And I think he's a great asset. And I think he's going to be great for the Miami Heat. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do in Miami. But I also look at the fact that he had a very high contract and it was expiring. And if you ask me, I'd rather have Bradley Beal on a cheap contract alongside also having John Collins than getting, than having Norman Powell. Because keep in mind, they traded away Norman Powell for John Collins, got John Collins back in return. Keep in mind, Collins this year averaged 19 and 8. And is a great lob threat for a great facilitator like James Harden. So Harden has one guy at the 4 and one guy at the 5 that he can throw lob threats to, with Harden having Collins and Zubac. So that's great for James Harden as a facilitator. But, anyways, they got Collins for Powell, and that helped them sign Beal. That helped them open up the money space to sign Bradley Beal to the 2-year, $11 million deal. And they still have a roster spot open. And a lot of people are hinting that they might go after Chris Paul, which makes this team even more dangerous. And it also continues to make you wonder, man, what a team this would be in the 17-18 season. But they brought in Brook Lopez. They brought in John Collins, who averaged 19 and 8. They brought in Bradley Beal. Well, I know Bradley Beal's contract was terrible, but let's not forget he averaged 17 and 18 in the last 2 seasons, shooting 39% from 3 last season and over 43% from 3 in the 2023-24 season. In no universe are those numbers bad at all. But it is bad because they traded what they traded for Beal. He was making the money he was making, and not only those things happening, but he was playing on a team with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker that had high expectations. Maybe this Clippers team with Harden and Leonard might have high expectations, but he's not making big money. He's not even making $6 million a year. And, honestly, I think this Clippers team, there might be some hope for them to do something and become something nice, but there's no expectations for that or pressure for them to, not do anything, or, there was a lot of pressure for the Phoenix Suns to have success with the group they had of Beal, Durant and Booker. But so you've got rid of Norman Powell, who like I've talked about. Norman Powell was great. He was a great asset for them, but expiring, a little bit older, and not only that, but also terrible contract. And they got Collins for that contract, who's a really good player, averaging 19 and 8. helped them sign Bradley Beal. They brought in Brook Lopez, who's one of the best shot blockers in the league and still a great three-point shooter. So you look, they've really improved the three-point shooting. Bringing in Lopez, bringing in Beal. Collins didn't even shoot that bad from three last season. Collins last season from three was actually pretty solid. Collins from three last season was 36% from three last year. So, sorry. It was 39.9% from three last year, 36% in his career. So, Collins was almost 40% from three. Beal was almost 39%, but 41% in the last two seasons. Lopez is an outstanding three-point shooter, great shot blocker. And they brought in these three guys. And the only two guys they've lost are Drew Eubanks and Norman Powell. Most likely are going to lose Amir Coffey, who's a free agent. But so, yeah, they've lost Coffey, most likely. Drew Eubanks, who they cut, and Norman Powell, who they traded. That's it. And some small pieces, like, sure, I think they're about to lose Ben Simmons. They're about to lose Patty Mills, but those were late trade deadline additions who didn't play for them the whole season and didn't even have an impact much in the playoffs. And we know they're about to make one more signing. They've got one more roster spot open to use the vet minimum on, and a lot of people are guessing it's going to be Chris Paul. And what makes this interesting is because then look at the team, what it would look like if that's the case. Because it'd be James Harden, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, Ivica Zubac. And then off the bench, you've got Chris Paul, Chris Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr., Nicholas Batum, Brook Lopez, Bogdan Bogdanovic. I think the interesting thing, if they end up signing Chris Paul, which I feel like it's been reported that by some sources that they think that Chris Paul will end up in Los Angeles. Honestly, I don't, because it was reported he wants to be a starter. He wants to be a starter in this league. Can't do that in LA playing with Beal and Harden. Also, another thing I will say is that they've got two guards off the bench already with Chris Dunn and Bogdanovic. But a Chris Paul signing definitely could be happening. Who knows? I think a question I would have is if Chris Paul ends up signing with Los Angeles and returns to Los Angeles, does LA try to potentially trade one of Chris Dunn or Bogdanovic? Who knows? But there'd be a lot of depth because you'd have Harden, Beal, Leonard, Collins, Zubac as your starters. Then off the bench, you've got Paul, Bogdanovic, Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr., Batum, Brook Lopez. And so there'd just be a lot of depth for the Clippers. But honestly, I think with the current squad they have, and especially to add in Chris Paul, I think the Clippers are my favorite in the Western Conference outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets. I like the Denver Nuggets as well. Right now, I think the four best teams in the Western Conference, in my opinion, are the Houston Rockets, no order particularly, the Houston Rockets, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Denver Nuggets. It's my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on the move that the Clippers made today, all the moves they've made this offseason, Lopez, Beal, Collins, and potentially what could come next with Chris Paul. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section and peace out.